Good evening, class. Today we're going to go ahead and discuss section 7.2, Graphing Linear Equations, part 1. Uh, Actual graphing is not that difficult unto itself. You just really have to concentrate on which of the two techniques you're going to choose. Now, the first technique that I'm going to discuss here is what is known as the t-table method. Typically, you'll see your equations written in the form of ymx plus b form, which will be known as the slope-intercept form. And essentially what it is when you have your equation set up equal to y. Notice that there is no coefficient in front of y, and your x is on the other side. So the idea here is to choose, at the very minimum, 2 points in order for you to go ahead and plot this graph. Now, the points are going to be up to you. In MyMathLab, they're going to give you certain points. It could either be x or it could be y. It doesn't really matter, as long as you have the ability to solve for the other variable, whether it's x or y. For example, let's say we choose x being 0. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and solve for it. So I'm going to go ahead and solve for it right here. And all we're doing is just substituting that value of x right there to solve for y. So we substitute the 0 in there. 2 times 0, that'll give you 0. And 0 plus 3, your y ends up being 3. So that completes your ordered pair. Your ordered pair is 0, 3. Alright. Now the other options of view is you could also work with the y if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter here. So let's pretend that our y here was 1. So once again, you have the option, either x or y, it's up to you. So if we substitute the 1 in there for y, so we're solving for our second value right here. We're substituting the 1 in there. We're going to end up with 1 equals 2x plus 3. Now remember, where are we getting these from? Those are the values that you're going to choose from, right? You're going to choose on your own. Yes, MyMathLab does give you those, but eventually you got to learn how to do it without using a table or without them using giving you the information here. So it's going to be up to you which values of x or y you want it to work with. So we go ahead and solve for x. So in this particular case, we're going to go ahead and subtract the 3 right here. So you end up with negative 2 equals 2x. And then we divide by 2. So once again, negative 2 divided by 2 will end up giving you negative 1. So when your y value is positive 1, your x value will be negative 1. Once again, when you're choosing these values, it's up to you whether you want to choose an x value or a y value. Those you're going to have to figure out on your own. A word of advice when you're dealing with these, try to deal with small values. Alright? Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to another one, because this one requires you to have 3 points. And if you haven't printed out your worksheet right here, comes from letter A right there, from part 1 right there. So we're taking a look at A, and later on we'll take a look at D. Alright, so let's go ahead and choose a third value, because they want you to choose a third value. And in reality, you only need 2 values to make the graph. But here they want you to go ahead and use 3 points. So once again, you could choose whether you want to deal with x or whether you want to deal with y. It's up to you. Most people are going to prefer x when you're dealing with this format right here. And I'll show you the later format as we go along. So let's say you chose positive 1. Alright. So once again, substitute the 1 in there for x. So you have y equals 2 times 1 plus 3. And we've seen this before from our previous section on how to solve equations like this when we're solving the solutions from our previous section 7.1. So 2 times 1 will give you 2, and you add the 3. So your y equals 5. So those are going to be your ordered pairs. Your ordered pairs are going to be 0, 3, negative 1 and 1, and 1 and 5. Once again, you need to be confident in which values you want to choose. And they're going to be up to you when it comes to these things. So the first one is 0, 3. So if everything's correct, this should form a straight line once we connect all 3 points. So 0, 3, remember it doesn't move on x, so it's going to move up 3. So 0, 3 is right there. Our next point is negative 1 and 1. So we move one place to the left. And since your y is positive, you move one place up. Alright, so that's your order pair negative 1 and 1. And your last one here is 1 and 5. So you're going to move from the center 1 to the right. And since your second value is positive, you're going to move up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it'll be somewhere around here. And once again, it's not going to be perfect since you're not using graphing paper. But if you do have graphing paper, it does make it a little bit easier. And we connect them, and it does form a straight line. Alright, so that's our first graph right there. Notice what we're dealing with whole numbers. Our next graph that we're going to take a look at is going to deal with fractions, where we have fractions involved. See you in a little bit.